I've wanted to build a 5-string mandolin forever. These little instruments pack such a unique and crazy sound, bright, punchy, and full of character, all at the same time. They have a voice that really cuts through, whether you're playing chords or single note melodies. And with that 5th string, you get extra range that opens up all kinds of possibilities you don't normally get on a traditional mandolin. I love how compact they are, yet how much tone and personality they hold in your hands. And finally, I get to bring one of these dream builds to life, and I can't wait to show you every step of the process. I first saw a 5-string mandolin at a String Cheese Incident concert about 10 years ago. It sounded like a guitar, but not quite. It looked like a guitar, but not quite. It even filled the sonic space like a guitar, but again, not quite. That mandolin was being played by Michael Kang, and to be fair, that was a big part of the 5-string mandolin magic, was that it was in the hands of an incredible musician in an incredible band. But I also wondered why I'd never really seen one before, or why they're not more widely used. The sound was undeniable, and from that moment on, I knew that I wanted to build one myself. So here we are, doing just that. I sourced a gorgeous bass stone walnut top for this mandolin, plenty thick enough to carve and do some intricate work on. I paired it with one of my favorite bodywoods, which is black limba, and black limba adds a really nice tone and a visual contrast as well. Just breezing through these early steps, anyone familiar with this channel knows the process by now, but I decided on a solid body construction for this mandolin, so the process is really straightforward. Cut it to shape, line it up, glue it up, and we're off to the races. Here's something new for me. I designed and cut a template to enhance the carved top, almost like 2 teardrops that add a little extra aesthetic detail. I've got a pretty specific vision in mind, and I'm really hoping that this lives up to what I think it can be. So I used a bit with some heavily rounded corners to flush cut off the template, and I was really pleased with the result. I love when function and art meet and harmonize, and this is a perfect example. I put a 45-degree bevel on the back of the body, between the cutaways and over the neck pocket. It helps with player comfort when reaching the upper frets, and it just looks really cool too. I first picked this up from Matt Artinger, whose shop I still work out of. Matt's the man, and if you haven't seen his work, you need to. I've got a link to his website in the description below, so go check him out. So the 5-string mandolin is kind of like a guitar, but its tuning is very different, and its scale length is shorter. Still, it's a stringed instrument, played with a pick or with your fingers. Knowing that, I tried to take what I know about building instruments and pair it with the components that I felt would be best for this mandolin. Finding pickups with 5 poles or 5 screws would have been a huge challenge, maybe even impossible. Rather than fight that battle, I started to think about what I really wanted from this instrument. Many 5-string mandolins just use traditional guitar pickups with one magnet kind of stranded off to the side of the strings. That can definitely sound amazing, but I also wanted the instrument to look symmetrical where it should. With a 20-inch scale length, there's potential for a slightly muddier dark tone, so I wanted pickups and strings that would add a bit of sparkle. And I wanted something humbucking as well. That's why I designed this build around a set of Firebird pickups from Porter Pickups. Firebird pickups use bar magnets, which line up perfectly with this layout, and they have that classic quack and single coil spank that I think will pair beautifully with the 20-inch scale, all in a mini humbucker size package. For the neck, I'm starting with a rosewood neck blank, and I'm making a bit of a wood sandwich out of it. I laminated the center with maple along with a strip of that Bastogne walnut we use on the top. I was really excited about this little neck. It's not often I get to use this wood because it's expensive and can be really tricky to source, but for the fingerboard, I found an amazing piece of Camatillo, also known as Mexican kingwood. I love Camatillo. It's probably my favorite wood. It looks incredible, it sounds great when you tap on it, and it adds a little element of mystery because people always ask what it is when they see it. I think this mandolin is the perfect instrument to showcase this piece. It's one of those woods I wish I could use on every guitar and instrument, but unfortunately, I can't. That said, if any of you woodworkers out there have Camatillo sources that you're willing to share with me, I would love to hear about them. That webbing, the rich purple color, and the contrast with the surrounding wood, that's exactly why I love Camatillo so much. It's just spectacular. With the extra Camatillo off the blank, I was able to resaw it in half and book match it. I'll use this as the headstock overlay. I love when the headstock overlay matches the fretboard. Similarly, I processed an offcut of the Bastogne walnut to use as a headstock underlay, so you get a little window to the front of the mandolin, visible from the back of the headstock. The underlay is a little trickier than the overlay to attach because you have to bend it to match the volute in the neck, and that requires a little bit of a tricky clamping solution as well. I've got some big goals for 2026. I'd like to increase my YouTube output to monthly uploads, which will be a huge undertaking for me. And if you enjoy this kind of content, please consider liking this video, subscribing, and ringing the bell to stay up to date. YouTube has been one of the most rewarding parts of my guitar building journey, and all the positivity from your comments keeps me smiling every day. And in 2025, we even hit 10K subscribers, which is something I never imagined when I uploaded my first video. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who watches, and I really am incredibly grateful for all of your support. What would be the point of those bevels along the cutaways if the neck was going to have a big clunky heel? This neck had to join the body as if it were a single piece of wood, and to me, this is another perfect example of where function and aesthetic meets. If you're watching and wondering where I get the tools I'm using, most of the time it's from Stewmac. Stewmac makes ultra high quality, luthier specific tools that really make specialized processes so much easier. I've linked the tools I use most often in the description. If you click through and make a purchase, I get a small kickback. It doesn't cost you anything extra, and it really helps support this channel and keep the content flowing. Tools like these fret end cutters, tang nippers, and Deblo fretting hammer can all be found there. This mandolin has violin vibes. It's going to be tuned just like a violin, so the melodies a player ends up exploring might sound more violin-like than guitar-like. With that in mind, I wanted a logo to fit the feel of the instrument rather than my standard one. I designed an N that looks like it belongs inside of a violin, rather than on a guitar headstock, to match the character of the mandolin. I'm making a floating bridge for this mandolin, similar to what I would do on an archtop guitar, but before I can make the bridge, I need to decide on the string gauges. This mandolin will be tuned in perfect fifths. It'll be G, D, A, E, and B. And with that 20-inch scale length, which is very long for a mandolin, choosing the right strings is going to be pretty critical. I want the instrument to resonate, so the strings need enough freedom to vibrate without so much tension that they get muted. At the same time, I want a familiar guitar-like feel, so I went with wound strings for the bottom three, and 9 and 11 gauge unwound strings for the E and B. I chose lighter gauges to maximize sustain, and heavier strings aren't necessary here because overall string tension is already higher on the 5-string mandolin. I've always liked a tailpiece on a guitar. To me, the tailpiece is like the tie on a nice suit. It's a small detail, but it's a great place to add creativity and originality to an instrument. So for this mandolin, I designed a new tailpiece that incorporates brass along with this beautiful piece of camatio. The brass in this tailpiece isn't just for looks, it adds an aesthetic touch and it helps maintain the design theme that I'm going for. But it also has a functional role. I ground the mandolin through the tailpiece, so you need some conductive material touching the strings. In this case, that's the brass plate on the bottom. To attach the camatio, I first set it on the brass plate with superglue to hold it in place, and then I drill threads through the bottom and epoxy them in for maximum strength and long-term stability. After a long process of spraying finish coats, grain filling, sanding back, and repeating, we're finally almost done with this mandolin, and I really can't wait to play it. I know some of you would love to see more of the finishing process, but the spray booth gets pretty cramped and it's tough to film in there without risking overspray on the camera. When it comes to final finish sanding, I always rely on these Aslix dry papers. They're excellent for leveling finish and aiding in achieving that mirror finish that everybody wants. I've got the ones I use in the links in the description from Stewmac. So at first glance, this looks like it's missing a string, and that's because it is, kind of. But this is a 5-string mandolin, and it's not a 6-string guitar. And the interesting part about the 5-string mandolin is that even though it has fewer strings, it actually gives you more range per string. A guitar is tuned mostly in fourths, E to A, A to D, D to G, with that 1/3 thrown in between G and B. That tuning makes chord shakes comfortable, but it also means the same notes repeat pretty quickly across the neck. This mandolin, on the other hand, is tuned in perfect fifths, so each string jumps much further in pitch than a single guitar string does. And what that means in practice is that you can cover more notes across fewer strings, scale shapes stretch out instead of stacking on top of each other, melodies feel more linear and violin-like too. So even though there's only 5 strings here, you're not losing any range, you're actually gaining clarity and efficiency. It's less strings, it's wider intervals, and it's more music and less real estate. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate everyone who takes the time to be here. If you'd like to stay up to date with what I'm building at Newill Guitars, feel free to hit the subscribe and ring the bell, that way you never miss another upload. For now, enjoy the sound demo and let me know in the comments what you think about the mandolin.